story how I got involved in adjusting. I've been a contractor for up to about 17 years before I started adjusting. Built homes, renovated homes, commercial and residential. One day I was in my office and my electrical contractor, brother, buddy, friend, walked by me as I was working on an estimate. He said, "Man, have you ever heard about this?" I'm like, "What's that?" He showed me a text. He had gotten a text from a friend of his who was also an electrician who had a cousin that worked in the accounting department for an adjusting firm in Canada. All right, I mean, you see all these connections, and that cousin sent his friend this text saying, "Man, look at these checks I'm cutting. You need to get into this industry." And so that young man, after receiving the text, sent it to my architecture friend, and he showed it to me. I'm like, "Is this real?" He was like, "Yeah, it's real." So I turned around, went back to my computer. I looked up insurance adjusting. I looked up the company that was on the text. I looked up the wage. I was like, "Man, this thing's legitimate." When I got to the company, they had an emergency licensing training the very next day in Fort Myers, Florida, and I'm in Fort Lauderdale, 2.5 hour drive away. The very next day, and I'm like, you know what? Might as well give it a try. I'm just sitting in the office anyway. So I registered online immediately. Then I called them to make sure my seat was reserved because this was the very next day. I didn't know if they had a deadline or what because they was expecting Hurricane Irma to hit. So the state authorized emergency licensing. So I booked my hotel, got on my motorcycle, drove 2.5 hours, went to the training, and 3 days later, I was a licensed insurance adjuster with an emergency license that's good for a year. And so while I was in the training, we was expecting Irma to hit in a couple, maybe a week, maybe within the following week, Irma was going to hit. At that time, I had a vacation scheduled in San Francisco later on that month, like about the 26th. So I asked the guy that I was training, I said, "Would you recommend that I start after my vacation, or can I start now, go, and then come back?" I wish I never asked him that question. I, I had I had the experience, I would have known that I could have worked those claims, went on vacation, write them up, come back and continue to work. I didn't know. So he said, "No, I think it'd be better if you just come back after vacation." I don't know if he was afraid that I wasn't going to come back at all. I have no idea, but I wish I never asked him. So I'm up in San Francisco. I anticipated when I would be coming back. So I called him and said, "Hey, I'm back. I'm ready to go." And then they started issuing me claims. Came back to Florida, hit the road, started running claims. I ran claims for, I want to say, 22 days. They gave me about 18 claims to begin with, maybe gave me 4 or 5 more after that. Ran it for about 22 days, made $19,000. I said to myself, if I can make this part-time in such a short period of time, how would it work if I went full-time? That day I decided I was going to phase out my company. I took about 6 months to do it. You know what I'm saying? And then I hit adjusting full-time. And I've been busy ever since. Best decision I've ever made. A lot of times when I tell people I come from a general contract, they be like, "Man, you left general contract?" I say, "Yeah, easy." And they ask why. The reason being because in contracting I made a lot of money. But the money came in one hand, went out the other. You know what I'm saying? And so in insurance adjusting, I make good money as well, but I get to keep most of my money because I don't have the overhead of contracting. I don't have workers' compensation to worry about. I don't have the huge general liability for all my vehicles. I don't have to pay unemployment taxes for the workers that are working. I mean, can you believe that? As a company, I pay unemployment taxes for guys that are working. I mean, and the expenses went on and on and on. Every kind of way they can stick their hand in your pocket, the federal government did. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, that was an easy trade-off to get involved in the insurance industry. And I have not looked back since. I have been busy since. So this morning we're going to talk about this industry. And one thing I definitely want you to understand is that your investment today, this week, in what you're doing is gonna prove well worth it. And I'm going to show you from the onslaught. I'm going to show you today. The operating word that we're going to be looking at and we want to remember is that word indemnify. My main goal this week is that you guys will grasp the concept of everything that we're going to be teaching. Everything that we're going to go through this week is in this booklet. I want you to take note of not only that is in this booklet, I want you to take note of the order that it's in. Okay? First things first, right? We always want to get off on the right foot. I want you to take note of the order all of these steps are in. Because what I'm going to give you today, I'm going to give you a method to this madness of insurance adjusting. All right? I'm going to give you step by step what to do first, what to do next, and on and so forth. I'm going to give you the method. I average about 100 claims in 30 days on a storm. That's my average. All right? 100 claims in 30 days. The method I'm going to give you will give you the ability to do this very same thing. Will you do 100 claims in 30 days? Maybe not. Maybe you will. But what would it depend on? On your motivation, right? Because it's a totally different lifestyle. When you're out there in deployment, it is no taking it easy. You know what I'm saying? Calling it a day after 3 o'clock, hitting the bar every night, unwinding, and think you're going to wake up the next day and do more claims? It's a totally different lifestyle. But you will have the tools to be able to do the very same thing, depending on your energy. And I'm not talking about being worn out and tore down every day, okay? And you'll begin to understand. After today, you're going to be able to grasp, man, wow, this is so doable. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to give it to you step by step. Everything that we talk about, in the order that we talk about, is going to be here. So the main goal is going to be that you grasp the concept in every section we talked about. I don't expect you to remember everything step by step, but what I want you to do is grasp the concept. Because if you understand the concept, when you're out there in the field and you just get lost, you'll be able to ask yourself the right question and be able to go back and get the answer. You understand what I'm saying? You'll be able to ask yourself the right question, man, what do I do next? If you don't grasp the concept, we won't be able to do that. All right? So I want to make sure you guys grasp the concept as we go. This is the main concept. It's indemnity. That is the whole goal of insurance. Is to indemnify the insured. That is your overriding drive, motivation. That's what's going to drive you in every claim. It's not a matter of you outsmarting your manager. It's not a matter of you getting extra coverage. The main goal is that you're going to secure this insured against hurt, loss, and damage. That's the whole purpose of insurance. It's to indemnify the insured. That's the motivation. I don't know too many jobs or businesses or professions out there that you can help people and be well compensated in the process. There's not a lot of people blessed with that kind of opportunity. All right, you got people that have jobs that help people, but they're not well compensated. Teachers, for example, school teachers. Come on, they're molding society, and they're one of the less paid professions out there. Police officers put their lives on the line every single day. They may not even get home, but they're not well compensated unless they've climbed that ladder and got to an upper echelon position. There's not many companies, not many jobs and professions out there that you can help people and be able to be well compensated. To make compensation due for incurred hurt, loss, or damage, I will say it to you right now. As we go through this week, I am going to be as honest, as transparent as possible. We want to get in on this huge industry, cash industry, all right, and help people in the process. So why did I share that information? Because your goal is to give the insured as much as their policy allows. I like to be able to approach a claim or approach a lost property with the confidence that when you see me show up at your door, you know that your insurance is looking for the best. They're looking to provide coverage. I will not work for an insurance company that does not want to provide coverage. I won't even represent them. Because everybody loses. The insured loses because they're not getting what they're due. You lose because you're not getting paid for the coverage that you're supposed to give that insured. Because you get paid according to whatever the amount is. Okay? Everybody loses. So I would not get on the roster of companies And I have worked with a couple insurance companies that don't want to pay. Here's one example. I was working up in Maryland. This one insurance company did a commercial claim, wrote up the roof for $90-some thousand. In Maryland, they have a matching law that if you change out a shingle, the shingle must match. If it doesn't match, you have to replace the entire roof. Well, this particular insurance company says, you know what? We want you to repair the roof. Knock my estimate down from 90-some thousand to 17,000. Their anticipation is that if the insured complains, then we're going to turn around and write the rest of the roof. They already have made up their mind, we're going to write the whole roof, but we want them to ask for it. That's just all kinds of wrong. All right, that was one of my last deployments from September to December. I would never work for All right, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. All right, but I'll share the information, but when we're on camera, okay? But there's companies out there that are like that. They're not looking for the best interests of the insured. There are insurance companies that do not explain the depreciation process, recoverable and non-recoverable. When the property is depreciated and they have a recoverable a RCV policy, after the work has been completed, they can request that recoverable depreciation that was taken off the top. Okay? They can request it. But some insurance companies, they're banking on the fact that they may not even know that they can request that depreciation back. All right? So do I tell the insured? Yes. Sure, right? I tell the insured. When they call me and say, hey, man, I don't even have enough money to repair my roof. I understand, sir, but according to your policy, after the work is done, you can request that money to be given back to you. And there are some carriers that if they can provide a signed contract with a contractor, they can get that recoverable depreciation up front, as opposed to waiting until the work is done. But that's not explained to them during the claims process. Now, thankfully, there are more companies out there that want to provide coverage for the insured, thankfully. But you do have those bad actors out there. Okay? And that is why PAs, it's a thriving industry here in the state of Florida. All right? We lead the country in litigation. All right? In insurance litigations. So our main goal is to indemnify the insured. All right? Any questions so far? This industry is one of the most lucrative and volatile industries. Insurance adjusting is broad. It can be many different areas of insurance adjusting. You got property, you got auto, you got agriculture, and I'm sure you guys learned this in your licensing classes, right? There are some things that I'm going to talk about that you should have learned in licensing class. If you're not sure what it is, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. All right? I am going to try to give the most lean and mean class this week. We're going to cut out all the fat. All the unnecessary stuff that we don't need, I ain't even going to talk about it. But I am going to give you everything when it comes to adjusting. I am going to give you tools. I'm going to give you applications. I'm going to give you everything that I use to be successful. All right? Everything that I use to be successful. So this industry is huge. You got property, you got auto, you got agriculture, you got marine, environmental, what are you going to say? Aviation. I mean, it's huge. All right? It's huge. And your license covers every last one of them. If you're an all lines adjuster, every last one of them. We really have no excuse not to be busy. It's just our motivation. What do we want to do? What do we want to get into? All right? And that's up to us. The different avenues of adjusting that we want to do. You have third party, you have bodily injury, you have workers' comp. I mean, the list goes on. All right? The list goes on. Now, I know that one of our greatest concerns is let's talk about the money. But before we talk about the money, let's talk about our responsibilities as adjusters, right? So this is a home in North Carolina along the coast, the North Coast. of North Carolina. Imagine walking into this. I inspected this property, I believe, 2018. All right? Walking into the front door. I mean, for most of us, probably the cash register sound goes off. Cha-ching. All right, for me, walking into that, I'm thinking, man, can I inspect this thing safely? That's my first question, but that's because I come from a contractor background. Now, a lot of people say, can you be successful without having construction experience? Well, this week we will mitigate against your lack of experience. I will provide you with tools that you can write a claim as if you was a 20-year contractor. All right? So everything I'm going to share with you, it's going to be from the background of a 27-year general contractor. I've been doing construction since I was 19 years old. All right? I will provide you with the tools to be able to write a report with confidence and accuracy. You're going to have those tools. All right? So you walk into a place like that, and the first thing I think, man, can I walk this thing safely? My second thought is my health. All right? I need to go down and get a mask. Because as you can see, there's all kinds of bacterial growth. And in this industry, we never use the M word. Mold. That's right. All right? Never use the M word. That opens up a whole nother can of worms. All right? So we use bacterial growth. Okay? But someone lived there at one point in time. So the third feeling is the overwhelming responsibility to indemnify that insured. You understand what I'm saying? We have to indemnify that insured, give them everything that they deserve. Right? I mean, you talk about devastation. In this storm, I would be driving down the street and I could look into people's homes, look into their living rooms from the street. Because the siding's torn off, the plywood behind the siding's torn, and you're staring right into their living room. There was a little canalway behind these buildings, and I mean, you can't even see the water. It's just debris floating on the water. That was bad.
Which storm was this recently?
This was Florence, Hurricane Florence, that hit the northern part of South Carolina and North Carolina. This was Hurricane Florence. And then not only do I have to go in there and write an estimate, now I got to draw that up. Remember how many stories this was? Two stories provide with the garage underneath it. Okay, the parking area underneath it. So we see our responsibilities, right? We have to indemnify the insured. But I'm sure in your minds you're thinking about the money as well. I would too. If I flew all the way from Portland, Oregon, right, from Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, right? St. Pete, where are you from, Brad?
Stay in Claremont.
Claremont, okay. I mean Orlando. Where you? Fort Lauderdale?
Fort Lauderdale.
Holy smokes, I didn't realize that. The other three guys that's coming up is from Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Nice.
Okay, I didn't realize you drove all the way up from Fort Lauderdale. Awesome. Good to have you. I mean, compared to Portland, Oregon, but.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, I took that 3 hour drive to Newport, Washington.
Newport, Washington. All right. That's in my mind, that's not closer. All right. But we're all interested in how do we get compensated. My most profitable storm was $70,000 in 28 days. It's easy to say it, right? But I'm going to show you. All right, you can bump into it. We could talk about all we want. But where's the proof? Okay? My least profitable storm was $14,000 in 21 days. That's my least profitable. And I was complaining, I was kicking and screaming the whole way. All right, but I have a friend in Texas, another trainer, but out of Texas. And when I talked to him, I would complain. I'm like, man, dude, they're robbing me, man. I'm not making money here. And he said, Ashley, man, think about it. How many people you know makes $14,000 in 21 days? I'm like, okay, man. But I was still pissed off. But I mean, that's the profitability, right? So the question is, how do you get paid? There's two ways that you get paid as an insurance adjuster. You can get paid hourly, which you still make good money. You're talking about $35 an hour. 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and get paid overtime. I mean, you add that up, that's still good, more money than the average person is going to make. But all the money is getting component paid, which is fee schedule. Here's one example of a fee schedule. Okay, we have the claim amount. We have the severity. If it's a Cat 1 or 2, this is how much you get paid from the claim amount. The average amount of damages that you will find on a claim. Thank you, sweetheart. Your average claim amount will always be between $7,000 and $15,000. So when I look at fee schedules, the first thing I look at is if I walked up to that inspection and I had 0 damage, what would be the money I make? So I always look at the first one. All right, in this case, 0 to 5,000 is $300 if it's a high severity, low severity $275, right? So I said to myself, if I walked up to the job, no damage, the most money I can make with no damage, $275 or $330, right? And then my next question is, I look at the average, 7,000 to 15,000. Now it's bumped up to 450, 660, 385, 550. Now that's right. Doesn't look too impressive, right? I mean, you figure you do 10 claims, 330, and then you get a percentage of that, okay? So 60% is the going average. The more experience you have, the more money you can make. I'm trying to find my phone that's sitting in my back pocket. All right, let's do 60% of 330. I'll tell you what, let's do 60% of 275. Let's go with the lowest amount. 275, 60%, 165. So if I do 10 claims and the lowest amount I make is $1,600, okay? Or a little bit over 1,600, 1,650, okay? They are not the same. All insurance companies are not the same. Let's look at another example. This one here is insurance. Look at their fee schedule, right? Cat 1 or Cat 2, the lowest amount of money I can make is 0 to 1,500, $395.20. $395, sorry guys, I gotta use a calculator. I am not that smart. $237, 10 claims, that's $2,370. You do 10 claims. I could do 10 claims in 2 days. Okay? So let's go to Cat 3 storm. Now remember, damages is what? 0 to $1,500. So we look at the average. It's between 7 to 15,000, right? That's what I told you. That's going to be your average claim. So let's go there. 7,500. $885 for a Cat 1 or Cat 2 storm on a $7,000 claim. Huge difference, right? So what does that tell you right off the bat? That's right. That's right. Who you deploy with matters. During a cat storm, when you apply with all these different rosters, I'm going to give you a list of companies that I recommend. At the end of your booklet, you have another 200 or 300 list of IA firms. During a cat storm, when you apply for these rosters, you're going to apply to be notified. Email, text message. So it would not be uncommon that you got 5 different companies sending you notifications. All right? Asking you, are you available? A lot of these companies will try to make you commit to them and make you feel like you have a responsibility to stick with them once you get committed to them. You have no responsibility to stick with them. During a cat storm, I am a claims prostitute. I want whoever's giving me the most money and who's giving it to me now. All right? So when I get the first one, are you available? Yes, I'm available. Will you commit to us? Yes, I will commit to you. Second one, are you available? Yes, I'm available. Will you commit to us? Yes, I will commit to you. Third, fourth, fifth, I'll commit to every last one of them. As soon as they reach out to me, my very first question, what's the fee schedule? Before I sign any contracts, send me the fee schedule. All right? Send me the fee schedule. And guys, this is your booklet. Write in it, highlight it. You do your thing with it. My very first question, what is the fee schedule? They may just send you a contract, no fee schedule. You want to know, you want to see the fee schedule, and you want to know what is your percentage. You have companies that would disrespect you with a 55% fee schedule. Okay? So you make commitments to every last one of them. The first one that sends you claims on an agreement that you appreciate and you can agree to, that's who you commit to. Once you're committed, stick with that person. You have adjusters that have worked for 2 different IA firms in the storm. That is doable, but not recommended. You understand what I'm saying? Because you want to give your all so you can make as much money as you want, and you want to build a relationship, a rapport, so that hopefully you can get on their dailies roster. So that apart from the storm, you're doing daily claims. That's what I met you on the daily claim. Okay? And with the company that I started with way back then. I work for other IA firms, but my relationship with that company is strong. Okay? Now, the same 7,000, a Cat 3 storm, $973 on one claim. How many claims I told you I can do in 2 days? 10, 5 in 1 day. Now imagine, $973 times 5 in 1 day. How many people you know make that kind of money? Absolutely. Absolutely. Cat 5 storm, over 1,000. Now, if you have more than one Cat 3 storm in the same year and you're on a deployment, that's multiplied. They will multiply what they pay you when you have more than one Cat 3 storm. Their motivation is that they're trying to keep you on that deployment, so you do not leave and go to that next storm. So they will multiply what they're paying you on that fee schedule. It's not a shame to say that this is the fee schedule that I worked. That made the $70,000 in 28 days. Of course, I made 70% because of my experience, but 60, 65% at these rates, that ain't nothing to shake a stick at. Right? Okay? We want to be able to know. Here's another insurance company. Okay? What's the lowest amount that I can make if I walk? And I think this is a daily fee schedule.
They have companies that change on a daily as far as the rates with that?
You make more money in a cat. Dailies is knocked down a couple stages down. Okay? You make less money on a daily, but it's still good money. All right? Still good money. So here, I believe this is a daily fee schedule. 0 to 10,000, the least money make is $600. 20% of that, I believe, is 408. Let me see. Let me double check. $600 times 60% is $360. $600 times 65%, $390. All right, so you're talking about $350 to $400 on the lowest claim. We go with our average. That's still $350 to $400, and the $15,000 claim is $800, and you get whatever the percentage is. Okay, so I show you three different fee schedules. Any questions so far? All right, we're going to try to break at 10. So all the money, really, you can make good money working as an inside adjuster, but to make the most money, it's going to be out in the field. Now, inside adjusting, like I said, is not a bad gig. You will make good money. And the thing about inside adjusting, for a field adjuster, our deployments may last 30 to 60 days. For an inside adjuster, that same deployment lasts 6 months to a year. 6 months to a year. All right? And you'll still make good money. All right? I made 70,000 in 28 days. Inside adjuster, you could probably make 70,000 in 4 months, 5 months. That's still good money. 6 months, still good money. All right? Of course, this is not the same money, but it's good money. Now, I'm going to show you how to do 100 claims in 30 days. Now, if I made $70,000 in 30 days and another field adjuster made $70,000 in 6 months, is it the same money? Is it?
Could you repeat that question?
If I made $70,000 in 30 days and another adjuster made $70,000 in, what did I say, 3 months, 6 months? Let's say you did it in 3 months. Is it the same money? It's not, right? And that's the goal this week, is to teach you how to maximize your earning potential. All right? Teach you how to maximize by being proficient and efficient as an adjuster and providing quality in the process. I'm not talking about turning and burning. I'm talking about understanding the method, instituting a process that's going to get you from start to finish proficiently and efficiently. All right? And make good money in the process. So it's not the same money. It's not the same money. So how do we get deployed? How do we make ourselves more marketable as adjusters? So how do you make yourself more profitable as an insurance adjuster? An aspiring insurance adjuster, if you have no experience, get certification and training. That will substitute for your lack of experience. Everybody started somewhere. All right? Everybody started with no experience. So that doesn't count you out. And one thing I want you to keep in mind, that once you get licensed, you are a full-blown, fully operating licensed adjuster. Don't let anybody tell you different. You will find other adjusters out there who will look down on you. All right? Don't worry about them. You are fully licensed. You have the full power of an insurance adjuster. And we're going to carry ourselves that way. All right? We're going to get the training. That's why we're here today. And here are some additional ways that you can make yourself more marketable. Get these certifications. Get 1, 2, get all of them. When I started, I didn't have any of them. All right? Didn't have any of them. And I'm still working today. You guys are starting on a better foot than I did as far as experience. I mean, I came in as a contractor. That helped me because I was still doing inspections, writing estimates anyway. So that helped me out tremendously, but you're getting training. You want to go for your Xactimate Level 2 certification? Don't worry about Level 1. Go for Level 2. Everything that we're going to go over this week is going to prepare you for a Level 2 certification. When you get done with this class, I will encourage you to take a prep course that Xactimate gives you, and then go ahead and take the Level 2 test. And you will see during that prep course that everything that's in there, you guys learned it in this class already. All right? So I would encourage you to go to Level 2 certification. Level 3 is for those who want to be a trainer or just want to be able to have bragging rights. All right? Level 3 doesn't do anything for us as adjusters. That's just if you want to be a trainer or have bragging rights. All right? Stability does not have any level certification, but I will give you a certification this week for going through stability training. You're going to get certification, not an Xactimate level certification, but Xactimate Proficiency this week as well from this class. So you'll be able to upload that into your resumes, okay? Encourage you guys to go and get a Hague, Win in Hell certification. On this table, we have all the tools of the trade, but we also have these booklets. This is one thing I got. Even though I installed roofs, I walked roofs, I understood about roofs, I still, in my first year of adjusting, I went out and bought these booklets from Hague Engineering. They're an engineering firm all over the country. I think these were like $20. That helps you identify damage. Because you want to be able to identify damage, call it out, and write it up. What you do not want is to be submitting reports that are not accurate reports. Requesting replacement of rules for rules that don't need replacing. So what happens when you do that is that raises a red flag to your administrator. Now they're going to look at every single claim a whole lot closer if they feel that you're putting in fraudulent claims. So we want to be able to provide a good report, a professional quality report. Okay? There's been times on deployments where I would submit my claim, it wouldn't even go through QA. Why? Because the director of that storm knew me. And there are times that he'd be the one reviewing my claim. He just pushes it through because he knows my quality. He knows my work. Unbeknownst to the adjuster, you are being graded. All right? There is a point system that they have in these insurance carriers and these IA firms. You are being graded for the quality that you produce, how many rejections you get, how many correct estimates you get, how long it took you to do that estimate. All right, you're being graded. You're not aware of it. You're not privy to that information, but that is happening in the back office. So we have to have the onus to want to produce that good quality because that will affect how much you get paid. All right? They have you sign a disclosure not to disclose private information, meaning you're not allowed to tell another adjuster how much you get paid. Why? Because that adjuster next to you might be 10% below you. And now he's like, man, I'm out. You mean they paid you 10% more? You do with that whatever you wish. And high and steep. There are some IA firms that if you get the high and steep certification, doesn't mean that you have to climb a high and steep roof, but they'll pay you extra just for having the certification. An extra $100 just for having it. All right? Not saying that you have to do it, but they'll pay you for just for having it. So that is a very good certification to have. Any questions? Equipment needed to do field adjusting. On the table, I have every one of those equipment sitting there. Monitor is sitting up on the counter, of course, in the laptop. But on the table, you guys can check it out. Laptop, monitor. Monitor is not, let's say, it's not a necessity. But man, it helps you move faster. To be able to see what you're working on a bigger screen, working on sketches, allows you to have multiple windows open. That increases your proficiency. The method I'm going to give you this week, I'm not telling you that, how can I put it? You can always improve upon it. If you can find a faster way to do it, God bless you, go for it. But I'm going to give you a quick way to do it. I mean, there's faster, and there's the fastest. All right? When I like to think of an illustration like my dog. I have a Belgian Malinois. You guys familiar with Belgian Malinois? Look them up, right? So when my dog never walks anywhere. She's always trotting or running, right? When she takes off, she's running fast. But something gets her attention, it's like she goes into second gear, and she's flying, right? So you can always improve upon the method I'm going to give you, encourage you to. Because when you do the same thing over and over again, you're supposed to get faster, supposed to get better, right? More proficient. So you can always improve upon it. So everything I share is the way that I do it. Do you have to do it my way? No. But if you want to be at least at the minimum proficient, I would recommend it, highly recommend it. Right? And you can always improve upon it. I am going to give you the way. All of it. And you can only get better. All right? So I'm recommending a monitor. It will behoove you to get a monitor. Your future self will thank you for buying a monitor, okay? Of course, you get a ladder. I always get two sizes of ladders. I believe I have a 16 and a 27-foot ladder. Before I go to an inspection, I'll look and see how tall the roof is. And that dictates, say, if I bring my 16 or if I bring both. Most of the time, I have both. When I met you, did I have both? You probably don't remember. You probably did a lot of inspections since then.
I've done a good handful. I always had the telescopic ladder, but I think I forget, because I know we went up on the low point of the roof where the gutter was. That's what I do remember, towards the front of the house.
That's correct. That's correct. So I try to keep two ladders. Okay. Now you can operate out of a car. You don't have to have a truck, and you don't have to have a tall ladder. I'll show you guys on my website. There's the telescopic ladder. All right, that'll fit in your back seat or in your trunk. There was one adjuster that came in my class last year. She was adjusting out of I forget the name of the car, but it was a two-seater. She would pull up and the insurer would be like, "Do you have a ladder?" I said, "Yeah, I got a ladder." I'm like, where? Right, that's right.
Expands the whole way.
That is correct.
It's really cool.
That's correct. So you don't need a van or a truck. You can actually adjust out of a car. Okay? I mean, you may have a problem. There are some roofs that are taller than others. Some of them, the eaves are at 10 feet. Other ones are at 12 feet. Some other ones are higher than that. Okay? If it's a vaulted ceiling. So tool pouch, you pull up at some inspections, or you may show other adjusters, or they may see my video and be like, "Man, how the heck you got a huge old tool pouch? What you doing with all of that?" Well, have you guys seen all these tools up here? Each one of them have a function. And where do I keep them? On my tool pouch. Each one of them have a function. I'd rather have something not needed than need it and not have it. Okay? So I encourage you to get a tool pouch. There's a shingle gauge. There are two types of shingle gauges. Okay? This one is used for roofs that are installed prior to 2011. This shingle gauge is used for tools that are installed after the year 2011. Okay? This gauge here, this is a metal gauge for galvanized or metal roofs. And there's a magnetic here for you to be able to tell if the materials is actually aluminum. Why is it important for us to know if it's galvanized or aluminum? Cost. Right? It's only right to give that insurer what they had before, right? Okay? So it's best to always be prepared so that you can be able to give that accurate estimate. Okay? So 3 types of gauges. Before 2011, after 2011, and for your metal roofs, you're going to measure the thickness of that metal because that drives up the cost. That insured gets what they had prior to that, and guess who else benefits from that?
You do.
Why?
Yes,
That's right. Because it boosts up my cost. And I want to know, is it aluminum or not? There's a little magnet on here. Okay? Is it important? Yes, it's important. Does it make a difference? Yes. How many adjusters do you think out there knows that? You'll be surprised. Now, what happens on most deployments, you have deployments where you have a huge catastrophic event and you have thousands of adjusters that are flooding that city or town. It is amazing the amount of adjusters that just fall out and disappear. You never hear about them. And IA firms will never broadcast it. You know why they wouldn't broadcast it? Because their failure to produce those claims, those adjusters, sheds a bad light on that IA firm because they failed to prepare them to go out there and perform. And they don't want insurance companies finding that out. But I am close to a lot of administration personnel in IA firms, and the stories I hear is like, wow. You have adjusters that get issued 30 claims, and they just disappear. They don't call the IA firm to tell them they're leaving. They don't call them and say they're overwhelmed. They just disappear. And the IA firm don't realize until 2 weeks later. When they're not returning a claim, returning a call, they're not answering their phones, they're just gone. Why? Because they're overwhelmed and underprepared. A lot of people are motivated to get in this industry. And they will drive 16 hours. But once them claims hit and they're like, how do I do this? It's overwhelming. And a lot of adjusters just disappear because they're overwhelmed and underprepared. And Hurricane Irma, there was this one gentleman, I remember his face. If I was to see him today, I would remember him. I was in that war room for 2 weeks. This man did not submit one claim. And he was continuously asking people for help, how to do this, how to do that. So I thought he'd eventually get it. Disappeared. He just gave up and just left. That is a common thread. The fact that you're here puts you in that higher percentile to be successful. All right? You're not going to be that guy that's overwhelmed and underprepared. You're going to have all the information you need. Okay? Little ladders helper. All right? We use this to protect the gutters when we're climbing the gutters and to steady your ladder on the gutter. This has I forget what they call it, but it has a tread on here. Once you put the ladder, it stops it from moving, and it protects the gutter that you're not bending it or breaking it. This becomes helpful when you're dealing with white gutters, painted gutters, because your ladder can scratch the gutter. Most people won't care, but you will have that insured. They get pissed off that you put a scratch on his 300 linear foot of gutter. You put one little scratch somewhere. And God forbid that gutter's a copper gutter on the beach and it's bronze, and you just turn that sucker copper because you scratched it. So is this helpful? Yeah, it's helpful. Little Ladder's Helper. And I have pictures of it on our website where you can purchase it. Tape measure, you notice I have two 35-footer and a 100-footer. All right? 35-footer and a 100-footer, and I'll explain the benefit in having that. In addition to my tape measure, I have laser measures as well. Okay? You would think if I have a laser tape, I don't need the physical tape. Well, this laser tape only works when it has a terminating end. All right? When you have an ending wall, that's the only time it works, because how this works is once you press the button, it sends out a laser, and that laser bounces back. It measures the speed that it comes back in, and it converts it into distance. All right? So if my wall is one of those funky angled walls and I don't have a terminating point, this does me no good. All right? So I have to break out my tape and measure those 2 points. My recommendations, but they're not really recommendations. They're must-haves, all right, if you want to be as efficient as possible. You have your pitch gauge. This is a physical one. I use the digital one most of the time. But this is a physical one in case my digital one decides not to work. I have a backup to the backup. If you look up here, I have 3 measuring tapes, 3 laser measurers. Why do I have 3 laser measurers? Backup to the backup. All right? Backup to the backup. I don't want to be without. I encourage you guys to subscribe to a cloud-based storage system. Cloud-based, like I think you were talking about one today. What was it?
The iCloud?
OneNote?
Oh, OneNote. Okay.
Okay, OneNote is a cloud-based storage. iCloud is a cloud-based storage. There's other ones as well. I encourage you to subscribe to it. Keep all your files in the cloud. What that does, if your computer were to crash or to die, you can just go pick up another computer and pick up where you left off at. Because all your documents, all your information is in the cloud. Ain't nothing like having your computer die on you, and you have the wherewithal to get another computer, but now your files are gone. All right? Subscribe to a cloud-based. It does 2 things. It protects your documents, and it also frees up space on your computer. Because Xactimate is a hard-hitting application. Once it's running, it's taking up a lot of space on your disk. All right? They recommend that you have 16 gigabytes of RAM. You can get away with 12, but they recommend that you have 16. All right? Because it's a hard-hitting software. Once it's running, it's taking up a lot of space. So if you can keep all your stuff in the cloud, your computer is free and will work more effectively. Okay? If you ever bump into a situation where you're working in Xactimate and it closes, that means it ran out of memory. All right? It ran out of operating space, so it shut down on you. Okay? What else I got up there? Pitch gauge, digital pitch gauge, cougar paws. If you're going to be climbing roofs, $250 shoes. You may get it for $199. These shoes literally make you feel like Spider-Man on the roof. All right? Because of the tread underneath it. All right? Now, it looks like something's wrong here, right? Right? Climb one too many roofs. So it has the sole underneath here that you will replace regularly, but you replace with these, all right? You always order and have extra. So you just replace them. If you're going to be climbing roofs, I highly recommend that you get cougar paws. They have ones, if you guys are worrying about design, they got some nicer looking ones, okay? They're not as sturdy as these. These are for roof installers. And remember, I told you I install roofs, so I already had a couple pairs before even getting into this industry. They have some other ones that look nicer, but those are the more sturdier ones. They have the support that helps you support your ankle, all right, and your footing on the roof. And chalk. The key word with this chalk is going to be washable, all right? Get washable chalk, sidewalk chalk. Nothing like riding up someone's roof and that chalk stays there for months until they repair the roof, all right? Make sure that sucker's washable. Any questions? So this is the camera I was using in the beginning, but now all I use is my phone and my iPad, okay? When I do an inspection today, when I'm done with my inspection, I'm 50% done with my claim. I do my inspection with my iPhone or iPad. When I leave, I'm 50% completed with that claim. I'm not teaching you guys that today, okay? All right? I'm not teaching that. That's advanced, okay? I'm teaching you the way that I did those 100 claims in 28 days. All right? Now, I'm way past that right now because it's an advanced way, but I'm not teaching that because we're gonna learn the simple and the fast way. Remember earlier I said there's fast, there's faster, and there's the fastest. All right? This is the fastest. Okay? I'm going to show you the faster. All right?
Is that another class, the fastest?
I'm thinking about implementing that.
Okay.
All right? But it won't be this class. Huh? Okay. All right? And sidewalk chart. Any questions, guys, so far? Here are some top rosters that I encourage you to get on. Why do I recommend these 7? Because they will give you the opportunity as a first-year adjuster. Okay? They will give you an opportunity. You have that in your booklet. Now, remember what I said earlier. Every single thing we talk about, every single thing, every single discussion, every single PowerPoint is here. And take note of the order that it's in. The order that everything is in, that is the way. It's not just an accumulation of information. It's giving you the order to move in. You can reinvent the wheel. You can change it if you want. You can change the order if you want. I don't recommend it, but if it makes you faster, go for it. Okay? I'm giving you everything. Okay? So here are the rosters that I recommend. Mid-America CAT. Yep. Mid-America. So all these companies will give you an opportunity. But notice the order I have them as well. There's a reason for it. Okay? However, they always give you an opportunity as a first-year adjuster. Crawford and Company, they're the company that I made the $70,000 with. They're a good company, very professional, and they will give you an opportunity as a first-year adjuster. However, their caveat, they will want you to come to their training, which makes sense. They want to be able to know that they at least plugged into you, shows you their way, and then they'll give you an opportunity. Okay? So, and all of them is going to offer the same kind of training, but Crawford in particular, they want to know that you came to their training. The next one is cross country. I have mixed feelings about them, but they will give you an opportunity as a first-year adjuster. Okay? Alacrity, mixed feelings, but they will give you an opportunity as a first-year adjuster. Not all of them. Not all of their, but there are some that do. I know an adjuster that worked up in Boston did a claim for him. It was halfway decent, but they give you an opportunity. First-year adjuster, what are you looking for? Get your foot in the door. All right? Your first deployment is going to finance you for your next one. All right? It's going to get you started for your next one. And this thing about adjusting, when you make your money on your first deployment, don't feel like, oh, I'm going to ball out. Yeah, I mean, put something away. All right? Have fun, but put something away. That's right. And taxes to come. That's right. And so there's also 2 different pay schedules. You have W-2 and you have 1099. I, in particular, love 1099 because I write off everything. Everything. Okay? I write everything off. But there are times where I have a deployment like Crawford, they're a W-2. They're a W-2. That's no problem. There's a work around that. You know what? You just edit your, what do they call that form? W-4, where you have them taken out of less tax as possible. You know what I'm saying? Or if you're that kind of person that feel like you might spend it, then adjust your allowances. Okay? So W-2 is not bad. It helps you in tax season. But I found 1099 to be the most helpful for me because I write everything off. There's an app. Write this down. There's an app called QuickBooks Self-Employment. Self-Employed. QuickBooks Self-Employed. They have it in iOS and also in what's the other phone? iOS is Apple.
Oh, that's right.
Android. They have an Android version. What it does, it tracks all your miles. You can connect your bank accounts to it. And it'll itemize all your expenses for you, all your business expenses, just with a right swipe or a left swipe. Business, left, personal, right. And every time you start your car and go from one point to another, it records the miles. And at the end of the year, it provides a report of all the miles that you drove. You know what you gotta do? Right swipe, left swipe. Business, personal. Those miles will save your life when it comes to tax season. All right? 56 cents a mile? That adds up. I beat my cars up. You're talking about 30 to 50,000 miles in 2 years. All right? Sometimes 30,000 in 1 year. But all that adds up at the end of the year for taxes. Okay? Pilot will give you an opportunity as a first-year adjuster. And then you have Rise Claim Solution. All right? So at the end of your booklet, you got a list of over 200 IA firms. So that'll be my top 7. But get on these rosters. Get on these rosters. All right, guys? And I'll be sending out emails to you guys to join our roster as well. What to expect and how to prepare. It is break time. Let's go ahead and break for 15 minutes. All right? And we'll pick up where I left off at here. Let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break.